morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a true crime corner video, but this isn't going to be a case. This is going to be, I have been asked this question millions of times, and I'm just going to talk about it while we diamond paint and I work on my Dreamcatcher wolf that I'm still working on. Next week I will have my diamond painting that I do while we talk about true crime, different cases. We will be using that next time, but I'm just working on this today. I have been asked, I don't know how many times before I started recording, and even when I started recording the videos for true crime, how I became interested in true crime. And, I truthfully, it's kind of, I don't know, to be truthful. Um, I have always kind of sort of been interested in that kind of thing. I, wasn't, um, and I think only after I moved out of my parents' home and, became an adult and moved out on my own did I really, 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 you know, kind of sort of, after a couple of years of, being the black sheep of the family, even after I moved out, kind of sort of got into that. Um, Truthfully, the only thing, and I've sat here and I've thought about it for a really, really long time. I've thought about it for the last couple of days because, I had a friend even ask me this question, and she watches my channel, and my best friend even asked me, and and I really, yeah, I had to sit and think about it because, to me now, it's kind of a, it's a hobby, but it's not. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody. Um, I've always kind of, found that kind of thing interesting. Um, I think more so, good grief, in the last in the last, like, I don't know, um, gosh, I'm sorry. It's hard to, like I said, I had to sit here and think about it, and I'm still trying to figure out how the heck. I think now y'all are gonna think this is the most stupidest reason, but I can remember when my husband at the time and I got cable. Yeah, I know, right? Now I don't have cable now, but regardless, and I can remember turning on and watching Law and Order. And at the time, they didn't have the different, Law and Orders like Law and Order Criminal Intent, Law and Order SVU. They just had Law and Order. And I really, really, liked watching that. And I think part of that, now, y'all are going to think, okay, well, what does this have to do with anything? First off, my father was a history teacher. I have always been obsessed with history, period. It doesn't matter what it was. And to be truthful, if you think about it, there are some true crime cases that are history. Um, like, what's his face? Ted Bundy, uh, Gacy. There's a lot of things that I didn't, there's a lot of cases that I have found that are, you know, you could consider history. And, I didn't really, I didn't really perceive them to be true crime at the time. I just, because it was history, I, was kind of into it. Like, even after World War II, you know how they talked about, all the, eventually, there were some um, German officials that were a part of Hitler's regime at the time, had been arrested, and in different countries for crimes and so forth. And yeah, I watched that because to me it was history. But then again, on the other side of that coin, it's also considered true crime. And I didn't perceive it to be that way just because. And I can never forget the first time that I sat and watched a news report about one of the about a German. I don't even remember who he was now, to be truthful. And he had been in charge of one of the Jewish camps in Germany. And I can remember sitting there, and granted, I've told you guys this story before about, both my grandfathers were in the war, and but they never really liked to talk about it, so forth and so on. So anyway, I was sitting there, and this was, I think it was after Saving Private Ryan. I can't remember. It was after the movie with Tom Hanks. That's all I can remember. Exactly when, I don't know. But anyway, I had gone because my grandparents lived above us in an apartment above my parents' garage. And I can remember when I went upstairs, they had the news on. And I was, talking, running my mouth as always. And my grandfather turned around and bold-facedly told me to shut up. And I just looked at him, and I was like, and I was shocked. And of course, I started crying kind of quietly because I didn't want to, make him any more. And anyway, my grandmother explained to me. And of course, when I asked him about it, he, didn't want to hear it. But I did find out eventually, that who this person was. And like I said, to me, that was always considered history because of the simple fact that it happened during World War II. To me, I didn't think of it as true crime. If that makes any sense to you guys, for the longest time, I couldn't fit. To me, it didn't make any sense, to be truthful. So, it just, I never really thought of that way. I mean, there were current events that happened during, like 1992, 93 that were current to me that I never thought would be considered in the category of true crime. Like Ruby Ridge, the Oklahoma City bombing, the Waco, uh, who was the other? Um, there were a lot of things that I never considered to be, and of course the DC sniper, but I never considered those kinds of things to be true crime. Now, you know, I think a part of that now is, I look back and I'm thinking about that kind of thing. And like I said, I didn't really get hooked on true crime until I started watching Law and Order, America's Most Wanted. I mean, I was into, crime TV. Oh my gosh, you have no clue. And I think, that became my thing. Um, how I really, really got into it was after the DC sniper. And I can remember, and I've told this in my video, my True Crime Corner video about it, when I covered this, I can remember, being concerned because number one, at the time, my father was going back and forth to Baltimore because of his job. He had to. And he was assistant superintendent of schools at the time, and he had to go back and forth. And I can remember being concerned. And, it again, at that point in time, it wasn't history. It wasn't, considered true crime because it was a current event, just like 9/11. I mean, but I can't, and, after that, it just became like this thing. Then there was, and I've always liked documentaries, to be truthful. I mean, believe me, I know I'm a freaking total nerd, right? I've always liked documentaries, period. And my parents always tried to get us kids, all of us at home, us girls, to watch documentaries. And of course, I was the only one in the house that really, thought they were interesting. And of course, my sisters, made fun of me for it. But um, I just, that kind of stuff, um, just to me is interesting. No, I'm not going to go out and do anything crazy, but I mean, nothing dramatic happened to me to cause me to really like be into, the true crime thing. Um, I the first really big thing that I guess kind of hooked me was um I was watching a documentary about Ted Bundy. And I don't remember where I was watching it. I don't remember, you know, I mean, like I said, it was a really long time ago. And I don't remember exactly what possessed me to be interested in this, I don't even know what to call him right now because I, I don't know. So anyway, all I can remember is that when I started watching the documentary, um, I just found it really really weird and interesting that this guy was doing all these things, but yet he was going to get married. He had a girlfriend, and he was going to get married to her, and of course that didn't happen, and blah blah blah. But it just that was one of the things that kind of got me hooked. And from then on, after after the DC sniper, and after watching that, and of course I don't know if it's in the genes because of my dad being into history. I don't know, but it just there's just some cases that I have found really really interesting. um it just it amazes me that there are things that you know amaze people. And because and I've been asked, and and I'll say again, nothing really dramatic happened to me that caused me to be interested in true crime. um it's oh my gosh, how do I even put this? This is going to be one of those things where I'm trying to figure this out. I, I think after watching the um Ted Bundy documentary, I became interested in knowing if there were any, you know, true crime cases like, I don't know, here in Maryland, besides the DC sniper. Because, of course, at the time, after watching the news with the DC sniper, that was not considered, again, that was considered a current event at the time. But I kind of became interested to see, exactly how many different um, cases were out there. And there were a lot. But I didn't want to be focused solely on the serial killer aspect. I mean, granted, yeah, it was interesting to see how, to understand how, like, Ed Gein and um, Gacy and, all these guys did all these things. I mean, to me, it was just weird. And, and of course, I've been teased, you're going to end up like these people. No, it's not even that. It's just, these are big things that happened in our history. Of course, I mean, of course, I guess you could say it is true crime and it is kind of historical event, blah, blah, blah. But, and of course, my parents were like, why? I don't know. It just became a thing, I guess. I don't know. Um, I really don't know how else to explain this. And don't, and like I said, I've been asked millions of times how I became, hooked on true crime. And, and because somebody had asked me, good grief, a long time ago, if I had, something had happened in, our town or, my life to cause, me to be wanting to, be kind of into wanting to watch that kind of stuff. And no, nothing really happened. I mean, nothing majorly happened personally. Um, it. I'm just gonna put it out there. It was just amazing to me to see all these other things happen in other parts of the country. Like Ted Bundy. It all happened over. From wherever the Mideast, wherever it was. Um, what? Um, good grief, Seattle, and then other places, and then of course the Oklahoma thing, and I was just shocked because you never hear about that kind of stuff in your state. Now, not saying that that kind of stuff doesn't happen in my state. Don't get me wrong, it probably does. Um, but I just never heard it happen, and that was one of the reasons why I kind of was like interested in the stuff because it's like, okay, this never happens here. This has never happened. This kind of stuff never happens over here. Now, of course, now I'll say that, and then y'all hear something happen, and y'all be like, "See, jinx yourself." But and of course, it's just all sorts of different kind of reasons, I guess, um, that kind of got me interested, and and I think you know I think like good grief, I'm trying to think. More so, I've been interested in it more now, more um, lately than I was, 19, 20 years ago. Um, Maybe like 3, 4 years ago, I became really interested in it. I can't remember why now, but oh, I know what it was. I was watching something on Netflix. Um, it was about Waco, and David Koresh and so forth. And I can remember when this happened, because I was pregnant with my oldest daughter, and I can remember um, hearing about it. And of course, uh, then the controversy came up of what really truly happened. And there's been different things about it, and I was kind of interested to figure out, okay, why what difference does it make? This guy was running this cult and so forth and so on. What's the big deal? And I have done a lot of research about it, and I have been kind of deliberating on whether or not to, you know, talk about it on here, because, um, but I just found it interesting that there were some things that there are some things that happened that shouldn't have happened. Let's put it that way. Same thing with Ruby Bridge. I had never heard about Ruby Bridge until I was watching Criminal Minds. And there was an episode, and they had talked about Ruby Bridge in that episode. And I immediately went and looked it up. And I was kind of like, wow, you know, that's interesting. And I, again, it just me. I don't know. I just, even now, y'all are gonna be like, really? Even after watching, as you guys know, I'm a big Sons of Anarchy fan, and even after watching them, I uh, got really, real. I was looking, basically, went on History Channel, and they had, was it History Channel? I can't remember. Anyway, there was a documentary about the motorcycle gang, Hell's Angels, and I was interested because the way that they were portrayed on Sons of Anarchy to, I just wanted to compare it. No, I'm not saying God forbid Sons of Anarchy. They're not. That was not all whatever, but I wanted to see if any of the things that they had portrayed them to be on the TV show was the same way. And I got, then after that, that just became a thing too, where I mean, it was considered true crime. And there was a couple of things that I found interesting, and it was very, um, I even Googled it. I Googled a couple things, and it was interesting to see and to find out some of these things. And I mean, there was a lot of reasons, guys. I really don't know how else to explain it to you. Uh, Good grief. I mean, I've always watched the what is it? The ID the what is it? Investigation Discovery Channel. I've always watched that channel off and on. Now, I really only watched it because of the TV show The First 48. That was the only reason I watched it. And I think, and of course you're going to be like, well, really? Of course you would get into true crime because of that. It wasn't really because of that show. It just, I mean, like I said, there were a lot of reasons and a lot of different aspects as to why I became interested in true crime. I know I'm not making a whole lot of sense. Believe me, I'm trying to make sense in my brain. I was going to write it all down, but there was a lot of things to get me into the true crime. And of course, now my kids, including mainly my son Justin, looks at me like I'm totally bonkers when I watch true crime stuff. And But it, I mean, I have to say, I mean, I not everybody's going to like true crime. There's a lot of cases that I have seen on TV and have read about, um, or even, you know, looked up that I didn't even know exist. And, some of them aren't interesting, some of them are. And it's just been. And as to how I decided to bring it to the channel, like I said, there was two reasons. Number one, I've always like I said, I've always been interested in it, just never really wanted to. I tried to bring it to the channel once before, and then that kind of died out. But it just listening to Stitcherista do the true crime, and of course there was another one, and I can't remember. Pam's Crafty Corner, I think that's who it is. But anyway, she was another one that I found that you know I thought, you know what, they both inspired me to want to do this, so that's what I did. And I didn't want to copy other people when I did, the thing. And I didn't want to be like, okay, you know, there are a lot of true crime uh, podcasts out there, and there are a lot of true crime people or YouTubers out there. And, I've watched a lot of them. And a lot of them, I hate to say this, but there are a lot of repeats. And I wanted to be one of those ones that looked for cases that nobody's ever heard of. And, and it's hard because there are a lot of cases that how do I put it? There are, it's hard to find them. I'll put it to you that way. It's very hard to find cases that nobody's ever heard of. And it's, and of course, and what inspires me, and I know a lot of you have been asking me why, how it inspired me to bring it to the channel. There's been a lot of, I watch a lot of 2020, um, oh my gosh, I listen to, true crime podcasts, on my phone. Um, I haven't listened to them lately. Um, I do, the Investigation Discovery Channel. Um, there's a couple other places that uh, have, this kind of thing on there. And I just have been watching them, trying to get some kind of, idea of different cases and so forth, and just trying to be a little different. At, mm, excuse me. At first, I was going to do, like missing persons cases, and then I was going to do cold cases, and because I just didn't want to copy everybody. And I know everybody says, oh, but you can't ever have too much true crime, which I know that's true, but I just wanted to be different. So that's kind of how I brought it to the channel and how I became interested. I know y'all like, well, that doesn't make any sense. It does in a way. Um, it's just really kind of hard to explain. But like I said, my main influence was my father because, as I said, he was a history teacher. So that kind of, you know, lit that little spark, if that makes any sense. So I hope that helps you understand how I became interested in it. I mean, I really don't know how else better to explain it. I know you're like, really, people? Um, Also, before we go, I wanted to let you guys know there will be no more split screen whip and chats. Um, the whip and chat that I uploaded yesterday, I thought I had fixed the problem, and I obviously hadn't. So I do apologize, guys. I tomorrow next week it will be this. You won't see my pretty face. So again, I apologize for all the technical difficulties. I'm going to have to find another, program or something that I can use split screen, because I really like doing the split screen. So anyway, you guys have any questions, comments, please feel free to comment below. And if you like the video, and if this helps you understand how, I became addicted to true crime, please hit the like button. Until then, guys, I hope everybody has a great week, and I will see you all next time.